Coming up on the program, we're going to preview the Queen's Plate with Sandy Hawley, the greatest jockey this country has ever produced. He'll be joined by Dawn Lupul. Also, we'll have Brent Morning and Greg Mandziuk because we care. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show coming up. Welcome to the program. We have a great one lined up for you today, including, of course, a Queen's Plate preview, and that's where we're going to start. First of all, let me introduce to you, he was born in Oshawa. He began riding at 17 years of age, 6,450 career wins later, $88.5 million in purses. He was a top rider in North America 4 times. He is the first jockey ever to win 500 races in 1 year. He was a 4-time winner of the Queen's Plate, an 8-time winner of the Woodbine Oaks, Eclipse Award winner, 2-time winner of the Lou Marsh Award as Canada's top athlete, a member of the U.S. Horse Racing Hall of Fame, a member of the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame, a member of the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame, and a member of the Order of Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, Sandy Hawley. Also on the program today, she is an Edmonton native, grew up in the family racing business, has trained, owned, and bred horses, started broadcasting at Northlands Park in Edmonton, worked at various tracks across the country, called a race once at Ascot Park in Australia. She won the NTRA's National Horse Players Championship Charity Challenge at Santa Anita, beating 50 other experts. She once swept an entire card with her handicapping. A big Bob Marley fan. Ladies and gentlemen, Dawn Lupul. Dawn, glad to have you with us. Sandy, Dawn, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to be on your show.
You.
Dawn, great to see you again.
Good to see you too, Sandy. That should have been at the bottom of my bio. And I know Sandy Hawley. So.
that is key. That is very important.
Oh, I still have my Woodbine hat, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm thinking about it. Anybody have one of these?
Ooh,
I think Sandy probably has about 10 of them.
It's at the Canada Sports Hall of Fame in Calgary.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Anyway, I just show it off. What can I say? First of all, though, I have to run this because it's a clip from 1974. Introduces Sandy pretty well. This is about the time that Sandy was being named Canada's Athlete of the Year. And this is what Sandy and the experts were saying about Sandy Hawley back in 1974. Let's roll that clip, Vic.
I walked horses, groomed horses, and then I started galloping horses. I was on the racetrack for about 3 years before I ever got a chance to ride my first race. It's a tremendous thrill coming down the stretch, head and head, and just competing like that. I love competing. I love horses, and I really enjoy racing, and I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
It's just amazing that he can be so mild and have the fierce competitive spirit that he has. He is also equipped with all the attributes of a good rider. He's an excellent judge of pace. Horses seem to relax naturally for him, and he has a great style and ability.
Up till now, he did more than any other jockey, I guess, in history. He's only been riding, 4 or 5 years. He's still young in his career. If he keeps improving, he could maybe be the greatest rider of all time. He has that potential.
I don't compare top jockeys ever. I just say there's no better jockey than Sandy Hawley.
He's got the courage to win races. If he rides 8 races a day, he wants to win 8 races a day, and this means a lot. He's got a lot of ambition. Sandy Hawley never quits riding a horse till he's past that finish line.
He's a good rider, no question about. You cannot knock success.
I walked horses, groomed horses, and then I started.
Pretty awesome, Sandy. What do you think when you look back and see that clip?
Well, my hair was a little bit longer back then. Not quite as long as Dawn's, but almost. And, so many influential people in horse racing, to say those kind words. I didn't know that back then, but watching it now, wow, it's pretty impressive of those people saying those things about me. And, riding for guys like that, like Frankie Merrill and Lou Cavaliers and Mr. E.P. Taylor, like, how could you ever go wrong riding for people like that?
Yeah, it was E.P. Taylor who said Sandy Hawley is just the best jockey alive, plain and simple. There you go. And that's pretty high praise from a guy who knew his racing. I also want to bring back another one of my favorite Sandy Hawley memories before we get into the talking about this year's plate. But one of my favorite Sandy Hawley races took back, I think it's 2008 at Oak Tree at Santa Anita. It was the Living Legends race. And here we go. The absolute best of the best squared off in this race. Yourself, of course, along with Angel Cordero, Pat Day, Jerry Bailey, Julie Crone, Gary Stevens, Chris McCarron, and others. You were aboard Tribal Chief, who led early, and let's listen to that race.
Hawley in front, and it's Sandy Hawley and Tribal Chief opening up on them with a 16th to go. And Sandy Hawley and Tribal Chief romping home, 59 years old. Sandy Hawley still got it. Jerry Bailey and Dee Dee's Legacy was second.
Sandy dominating a race of the best against the best. What are your favorite moments when you think back of that race?
Well, I wish I could have won by like a head or a neck or something like that, and maybe the jockey made the difference. But the horse definitely was the difference there. He was a tremendous horse, and he'd been off for a long period of time. He'd been off for 6 months. I'd been off for 10 years. When I first looked at the form, I thought, this is not a good combination, but he was just an amazing horse. And I remember Jacinto Vasquez rode on the race too, and they said to him after the race, if you could change anything next year, if we had it again, what would you change? And he said, I want to ride Sandy's horse. So he had a good comeback on that one. Lafitte Pinkai called me about a month before this race happened and said, we're trying to put this Legends race together, and we want you to be a part of it. And it was such a great honor to be named with all those other riders that were in the race, all good friends of mine and all Hall of Famers. It was very exciting to be in the race, but at the same time, it was nerve-wracking because, Angel Cordero, I don't think he'd ridden for like 15 years. I hadn't ridden for 10 years, and most of the guys hadn't ridden for 5 or 6 years. So it's a little nerve-wracking going into the race, wondering if you're going to get too tired. But I'll tell you what, Tribal Chief just drugged me around there. He was a really good horse.
Were you bagged after the race? Were you wiped out?
Actually, I wasn't too bad. If you had a horse that's stopping, you could hardly get your breath after the race and your legs start burning. But when you have a horse running under you, Joe and Don, it makes it much, much easier. Of course, I was pretty tired after the race, and, the emotions and everything. And, you use a lot of energy too, just being nervous about the race itself, going into the race. And, but having a good horse made all the difference.
You look good
Don,
out
what were your
there.
thoughts?
Just like you always look like you look good. Your stirrups might have been a little longer than back in the day, but yeah, you look good. I don't know if the whipping rule, we might have got you on the whipping rule once or twice there. Good stuff.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah, and Don, what were your thoughts? Yeah. Sorry,
finish your thoughts. I dropped my whip, but I probably didn't need to use the whip that much, and you just you just keep riding till you get to the wire. You never know if somebody's coming or not, but at the same time, it was a fantastic feeling to be there, and actually my boys got to see it as well, so that was even better.
That's awesome. I think afterwards there was a little bit of hesitancy, though, I think, to do something like that again, right, Sandy? I mean, it was great. Everything went off without a hitch, but I don't think that it was something that was going to happen again. I think you were one of the ones who said that too. It's like, yeah, maybe it's one of those ideas that we shouldn't repeat.
Well, yeah, you're right there. In fact, Pat Day and Jerry Bailey said they would never do it again, even if they were asked to do it again. If I was asked to do it again, Don, I probably would have. But yeah, at the same time, I'm happy that they didn't have it again. Yeah,
it was fun to watch.
It was a good one-off, and you know what? I tell you, I felt so proud watching that. And then, well, of course, I ran the highlights of the race that night at work and everything else. But we talked about all the honors you've had, and you've had many. You had another one recently. The city of Oshawa paid tribute to Sandy Hawley, the racing legend. Mayor Dan Carter and other dignitaries helped cut the ribbon for the Sandy Hawley Park. The park is located on Kentucky Derby Way and the old Winfields farm property. The The Sandy Hawley Park features a playground, splash pad. Pretty awesome, Sandy. How awesome was that for you to have a park named after you in Oshawa?
Well, it was tremendous, Joe. I know when I first started out, I had my first job at Winfield Farms, learning how to clean stalls and be around horses, how to take care of horses. The only time I'd been near a horse, really, when I was maybe 12 years old, my dad took me to a riding stable a couple of times. And, I got to ride just a pony, but, to be able to go to Winfield Farms and start working there and learn to be around the horses. Actually, Northern Dancer was that stud there at the time. It's just great to start there. And of course, the first person I met there was Mr. Duke Campbell, who's a Hall of Fame trainer as well. He took me under his wing, took me to Woodbine, taught me all the fundamentals about riding. Got me a great agent in Colin Wick, and I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Duke Campbell and Colin Wick, I definitely wouldn't have a park named after me, and wouldn't have had the career that I had, in the end. But I know Dan Carter, who's the mayor of Oshawa. He called me up and he said, "Sandy, we're thinking about building a park at Winfield Farms, and we're thinking about naming it after you. How are your feelings on that?" I said, "Wow, that's a tremendous honor," and it definitely was. It was a great day, and a lot of family members and relatives were there. So and friends, of course. And that was awesome.
Well, typical Sandy Hawley fashion, passing the accolades on to somebody else. But, of course you had great help with Colin Wick and it's getting your feet wet with Winfields. But something tells me that Sandy Hawley might have had success no matter what. You're a pretty talented guy. That's no doubt about that. And you're one of a very few athletes who won Canada's Athlete of the Year award more than once. There's only a handful. Some guy named Gretzky, I think Lemieux won it twice. You're pretty good company, put it that way. All right, let's talk about the longest running, continuously run horse race in North America, the 163rd edition of the Queen's Plate coming up this weekend. Always a tremendous event, of course. There's the style, the pomp and circumstance, always a sellout. It's a big day. Dawn, tell us what's new this year at the Plate, or different, or what can we look for?
Yeah, no, it's, there's something different every year. I mean, obviously the last couple of years were, like everything else in the world, it was a little bit different than normal. But, I worked at Woodbine from 2009 right until 2019. So I did manage to see a lot of Queen's Plates, and, the entertainment, the people, the younger crowd that likes to come and get dressed up, and the events on track. There's always music happening and everything else. So, it changes every year. So if you thought, well, I was there before, but if you have a chance to go again, you definitely want to go. And it's a great field. I'm really looking forward to the race. And there's always a good supporting undercard as well. It's not just the Queen's Plate. There's other stakes races too. So the whole afternoon is going to be great.
Okay, well, let's talk about the race. I mean, I know there's going to be a live performance by the Reclaws, so I should put that in there. They're a great group. The new Stella Terrace looks beautiful. When we were there at Woodbine a couple of weeks ago, we saw it, and it looks really spectacular, and that's going to be nice. But getting back to the race, of course, Safe Conduct, the defending champ, big champion last year. Mighty Heart won it the previous year. That was a popular victory. Sandy, you've ridden in this race many times, won it 4 times, as many as 2 others for the most wins at the Queen's Plate. What would you say is the key to victory when you're riding in the Plate?
Well, you know what, Joe? None of these horses have won a mile and a quarter before, so the main thing is to get your horse to relax. Have a horse that's on the bit and wants to be up close to the lead and is dragging you around there the whole way. Chances are he's going to get tired and falter at the end. If you have a horse either on the lead or coming from off the pace, if this horse is relaxed the first part, you're in good shape. And getting a good position, you have lots of time going into that first turn to get a good position, and hopefully you have enough horse to get to the wire first.
So if your horse isn't relaxed, if you got a horse that's really gung ho, do you charge to the front and figure you got to hope to hold on? Is that what you do?
Well, that's not a bad point, Joe. If you do have a horse that does get on the bit, and when the other competition is around, wants to go with them, it's not a bad idea is to go to the lead. Of course, you're going to get instructions from the owner and trainer when you're in the paddock, mostly from the trainer. But at the same time, if you can't get on the lead and nobody bothers you the very first part, then you're okay. But the main thing is having a horse that's going to relax for you. I know they're all 3-year-olds and they're young. They're still just babies, and some of them don't want to relax. Some of them are a little bit too relaxed. But having something in between where they're relaxed, and when you ask them, they get up on the bit. That's the perfect type of horse to ride. And I used to like to be like 4 or 5 lengths off the lead, maybe laying 3rd or 4th in a nice clean position with not too much dirt flying back in the horse's face. I think that would have been a perfect position for me.
So, Don, let's look at this field. Cause and Mayhem, Dancing in Denial, Duke of Love, Hall of Dreams, Huntmaster, Ironstone, Moira, Rondure, Chamateur, Sir for Sure, and the Minkster. Any horse that sticks out for you off the top?
Yeah, it's still kind of a fluid situation. I think Ice Road has decided to enter as well. So the numbers are a little bit in flux as we get closer to the entries. Entries will be drawn on Wednesday. Sandy was just talking about speed, and when you have a horse that won't relax, it can be challenging in the Queen's Plate because you're going a mile and a quarter. So, it's an interesting race, and there are some speed horses in here. Ironstone is one of them, and I watched him very closely in the Marine. He was bet down to favoritism. Adamar Santos, who is a jockey based in the States, flew in to ride this horse again. He'd ridden him in just about every one of his starts. He was really trying to get Ironstone to relax, and the horse was having none of it. They had sprinted his previous 2 starts. They had a couple of very fast works in the morning going into the race. And Ironstone decided that he should be going fast early. And he was, if you watched him, he's subtly lifting his head. He was just fighting the rider. And I know Sandy would attest to that not being a good feeling when you want a horse, when you're going in a longer race, you want them to relax. Cause and Mayhem, looks like Gallardo will be riding that one. He's another one that's pretty quick early. That one is sent up by Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher to race in here. And we have a filly too, and she's going to be the focus of a lot of attention and well deserved. I had the chance to break the news. Rafael Hernandez's agent Tony Esposito reached out to me and said we've made a decision on who we are going to ride because Rafael had ridden like 4 different horses who are going to be entered are going to be entered in the Queen's Plate. But he had the toughest choice because he has what are likely to be the 2 favorites in Moira and Rondure. And he decided to ride the filly. And Sandy, you'll like this. He actually said to his agent, Tony said it was all Rafael's choice, which one he wanted to ride. He said, I want to ride Moira because she could be the next Dance Smartly. He thinks that much of her.
Wow. That's high praise.
That is high praise. I'll tell you what, Dance Smartly, she was absolutely amazing. Beat the boys many times, and I agree. I think Moira is a really good choice. If I could maybe ride any horse in the race, it may be her. Especially what Raphael has just said. Well, that's tremendous. And I know my agent Colin Wick and myself, many times we had choices in big races, and he'd ask me to make the decision, and I'd ask him to make the decision, and sometimes we make it together and we were wrong. But a lot of times we're right as well. And I'm not sure if he's making the right choice, but I wish him lots of luck.
Well, let's take a look at Moira. Now, Moira, interestingly enough, is named after the Schitt's Creek character, played by Catherine O'Hara. Captured the Woodbine Oaks in impressive fashion. Let's have a look at that race, Vic. This is a great job by Rafael Hernandez in this ride, in this race. She went off as the even money favorite, owned by X-Men Racing, trained Kevin Attard. Let's watch her. Let's pick up the finish here now from Robert Geller.
Runners off and is going early, and Moira's run past McCool's Girl as Salabia takes the lead, and in turn Moira pouncing for the lead and trying to run home on the outside. Swoop to finish in the centre. Curling Candy's finishing on, but Moira's burst away as they turn in the Woodbine Oaks from Salabia, and they've raced 4 in front, and Moira has dashed out by 4 lengths. Salabia in second, and the rest are forlorn. They're so far back, and this is a procession in no uncertain terms. Moira has completely turned this into a one-act affair, and this year's Woodbine Oaks is absolutely at the mercy of only one horse, a fantastic winner. Moira, does she put her name into the Queen's Plate bid by that win? She won by 12.
No question about it. And I think after the owners watched that dominating performance, X-Men stable had no choice but to enter their horse in there. What are your thoughts when you look back and see that, Sandy?
You know what? Well, she looked tremendous in that race, and you know, she's going to be one of the favorites for sure going into the plate. And yeah, after watching that race again, I was actually there that day, and she looked fantastic. And yeah, if I could ride any horse in a race, she might be one of them for sure.
Dawn, your thoughts on Moira?
Yeah, I was there that day too. There's more to the story because, you know, a lot of the really good fillies are tough. They're tough to handle. You know, they're not docile, stable ponies by any means. And Moira is a little bit of that. Well, she was in full performance before the race. She was acting up. They tried saddling her. Normally they saddle inside and then they take the horses out to parade her on the walking ring. They decided to saddle her outside to try to keep her calm. So that was the first time that they were doing that. She's only run 3 times before that. So this was her 4th start. She was being so uncooperative is a good word for her. She was just being herself. And she ended up stepping on a hind shoe with her other foot and twisted the shoe as she pulled it. So they brought the blacksmith out, Tony, to try to fix it. Again, there was just no chance. She would not behave whatsoever. So she ended up, that race that we just watched, she ended up running it with no hind shoes on, which is not ideal, wow, especially on a synthetic track. So there was a lot going on. And then not only did she destroy her competitors, her fellow fillies, but in the winner's circle afterwards, they put the flowers on her. Raphael was still on her. They were getting pictures taken. She suddenly just went up and dumped him right off. She'd had enough. I mean, she had that much energy after. So her pre-race antics are probably going to be something that we need to pay close attention to for the Queen's Plate.
Oh, she'd be putting on a show before the show. Ever had a horse like that, Sandy? Well, I'm sure you have, of course.
Yeah, I've ridden a few like that, Joe. And I remember sometimes, not sometimes, but the odd time I'd walk in the paddock and I see a horse upside down and I go, oh, shoot, whose horse is that? And the paddock said, Sandy, that's your horse. Just don't break my saddle. Finally, the horse will be okay. And, you know, sometimes, you know, horses just get a little bit nervous, but I think that is her character. She's feisty. And, you know, if you're going to ride in a race, you want somebody that's going to be feisty like that. And she sure looks like she's got great character.
Well, you know, as Don pointed out, Rafael Hernandez had to make a choice. Rafael, of course, he's got 2,800 career wins. He's been around a little bit. Captured the 2015 plate with Shaman Ghost. He had to make a choice because he piloted Ron Durr to victory in the Marine Stakes. And if we can watch that now, Vic, let's watch Ron Durr here. He would reel in the favorite Ironstone, and he pulled away for the victory. Let's get the call.
Duke of Love trying to balance up, has the head on the side, but Rondeau has raced away. Rondeau grinding clear of the opposition in a massive win. Rondeau stamps himself as a big threat in the Queen's Plate. Rondeau canters in, wins the Marine 5 lengths and could have won by 10. Second Duke of Love, third Ironstone, and then
won by 5, could have won by 10. What were your thoughts, Don, when you saw that performance by Ron Durr?
He was breathtaking that day. Like he was just that good in that the way he went past them. Now, granted, the horse he went by, Ironstone, who I already mentioned as one who just wouldn't relax in that race, he may have some serious distance limitations in that he'll hit a certain distance and just not be able to continue to run on. That's what happens in the plate a lot. And you don't know until you try. It's something that none of these horses, they've never gone the distance of 1.25 miles. So it is a test of stamina. So Ron Durr looked really, really good. I'm just not sure if he was good against the best of the best, but we will find out definitely. They've elected, so they ran him, that was July the 2nd, and elected not to run him again after that. So he's just been training into the plate by all indications. He's training extremely well. So that's good. So it's going to be quite the little battle between the two. And it will be interesting to see if Rafael Hernandez made the right choice. And I believe that in lieu of Rafael, who has opted for the filly, Flavien Prat, the French jockey who's been riding in the States now for quite a while, who took California by storm, was a leading rider there, and is currently riding in the on the Naira circuit and in the East in the bigger stake races, attracting the attention of big trainers like Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher. It looks like he is going to be riding Rondour.
Wow, that'd be awesome. Flavien has had success here as well, as we know. Katerina Vasileva, the trainer, owned and bred by Borders Racing Stable, partnership of Hazel Bennett, Harry Dobson. Also in that Marine Stakes, the horse that finished second, trained by Josie Carroll, Duke of Love. Justin Stein will ride second in the Marine Stakes, fourth in the plate trial. Son of Smart Strike. Breeder has some Samson Farms connection. The ownership group, this is interesting. My Racehorse, which could number up to 40 people at the track on Sunday, over 950 owners in total. Don, tell us about this group, My Racehorse.
Yeah, well, it's a syndicate, Joe. So there's a few syndicates throughout the business. West Point is one. My Racehorse is another. There's a few. And what they do is it's fractional ownership. So they provide an affordable way to own a part of a racehorse for a very low cost. And what My Racehorse has done is they've gone out and they've gotten, they're not running cheaper horses at smaller tracks. They are running some of the best horses at some of the best racetracks. And I'm sure that Josie Carroll was extremely pleased to be able to take on this horse for them. The story with Duke of Love, he's got the perfect running style for the plate. He ran into a lot of trouble in the plate trial. He was in behind horses. I talked to Justin Stein, the jockey, after that race, and he said, it just didn't work out. He never really had a clear path to run. He's a bit of a quirky horse. Justin calls him a big kid. He likes to turn his head. He kind of wanders around a little bit. He's just still very green. He's not completely putting his 100% attention on running in the race. So that's something that he needs to overcome, and hopefully that will come with a little bit more maturity. But I think he's got some potential. So he could be, he'll probably be maybe the fourth favorite in there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top three.
Well, another horse we always have to consider, somebody who's trained, a horse that's trained by Mark Cassidy. He's got a couple of horses in the race, and one of them is the Sir For Sure, the plate trial winner. He went off at 21-1 in the plate trial after a less than stellar effort in the Queenston Stakes, but he was pretty good on this day. Very pleased Darlene and Renee Hunderup, the owners and breeders of Sir For Sure. Let's watch that impressive finish.
Mayhem has gone early to take the lead, and the Minkster revs the motor and trying to fight back. Cause of Mayhem is still coming back at Dance in Denial. 3 wide the Minkster. Here comes Sir For Sure and Hall of Dreams. Duke of Love behind the top trio. Battling back, Cause of Mayhem. Dance in Denial, the Minkster at their girth, and here comes Hall of Dreams and Sir For Sure. Sir For Sure burrowing through in the centre, and Sir For Sure has plunged to the lead in the plate trial. Chased home by Hall of Dreams, the Mark Cassie pair, and Sir For Sure is going on to win with authority. Sir For Sure wins the plate trial by almost 2 lengths to Hall of Dreams, Cause of Mayhem, and Duke of Love.
So there you go. Mark Cassie horses finished 1-2. By the way, it was a $281 exacta. So when was the last time you saw a $281 exacta for a pair of Mark Cassie trainees? The try returned over $1,900. The Hunter-up said the Queenston was too short for Sir For Sure, and who had shoe issues in that race as well. Don, you probably knew about that.
Yeah, the shoes are an important thing, and plus it's the fuss before a race. When you're having to try to get a horse reshod before racing, it's just not a thing that you want to have to go through. Sir For Sure, there is no question that he'll get the distance. He's a son of Sligo Bay. He's got a lot of distance pedigree. And physically, when I saw him, I was so impressed. Just from a physical standpoint, he's very, very big. He's got a presence to him. I think he's just been sort of learning his lessons as he goes. But he looks like he took a huge step forward last time, obviously. But even before the race, in terms of physical maturity, he has all the tools. I don't know if he'll be 21-1 this time. He was pretty impressive in that last start.
Right. And another horse I want to bring up, the Minkster. Now, this Danny Vellatrini, he was 3 for 3 before the plate trial, owned by Seaglass Stables. Won the Queenston Stakes on June 6th. Son of English Channel, who was a Grade 1 turf champion, a Mother Cabriolet winner of 6 and 7 furlongs. What are your thoughts about the Minkster? And would you give this horse some consideration?
I think you have to. He was undefeated before going into that last race. And I know, again, I was fortunate enough to be there that day. And I did speak to jockey Davy Moran after the race. And he was a little bit disappointed. They had discussed things, he and Dan Vella, the trainer, before the race. They wanted to see what the Minkster would do if they kind of kept him in behind and rated him. The Minkster, apparently, Davy said, did not like it. He didn't think that that was appropriate whatsoever. He wanted to run his own race. So I don't think that you'll see the same kind of strategy going into the plate. To me, he's a horse who can sit just off of the pace, but he wants to have his head free. It depends on the draw. The draw is going to be so important, like what post position these horses draw, because the early jockeying for position is extremely important. And a horse like the Minkster, a horse like Duke of Love, those are horses who are kind of conditionally good in a race like this. The conditions have to suit. They have to be able to get the right trip for their running styles and their mentality as well.
Let's talk about the draw, Sandy. I mean, how important is it? Do you feel like you've won some races absolutely because of the draw?
Yeah, I think so, Joe. You kind of don't want to be in the one hole, I guess, or you don't want to be on the outside. My favorite post used to be the 5 post. The important thing is getting a good break coming out of the gate. Hopefully everybody has good luck and get a nice straight break. Like I say, out of the starting gate. If your horse stumbles or your horse throws its head coming out of the gate, then you have to go to plan B. But the main thing is just getting a good break coming out of the gate, and as you mentioned, getting a good post as well. Like I definitely wouldn't want to be down in the one hole. If you have speed, then that's a different story. You can get your horse out of there and either put him on the lead or be just off the pace. But a lot of times for certain horses, post position is very important.
Okay, let's get down to it now. Our picks. I'm taking Moira. I after that, watching that dominating effort again. How can you not take that horse? Beautiful horse. 36 fillies have won this race, including recent winners, winner Godot, Holy Helena, and Lexi Lou. So it's not unlikely to see a filly come through. So I want to throw in Minkster and, of course, Rondura. You got to give Rondura some consideration. Okay. Sandy?
Well, you know what, Joe? I hate to make a pick because when I make picks, usually you can just scratch them off your list if you're asking for a tip on a race. But if I could ride any horse in the race, I think it's going to be it's a wide open race. I think it's going to be a fantastic race. Sir for sure, of course, one for Mark Cassidy. Horses can't read the odds board, but if I could ride any horse in the race, it probably would be Moira. And it'll be interesting to see if she becomes another Dan Smartley for sure.
Dawn?
Yeah, I have to agree with Sandy. I do like Moira. She's got the right attitude. She's got that feistiness that you love to see from mares. Again, depending on where they have to start in the gate. Some people say, it's just where you start. It doesn't have anything to do with where you finish. But a lot of times it does. And I do like Sir for sure as well. Just from a physical standpoint, to me, physically, he's the most imposing horse in the group.
Well, again, Mark Cassie's won this race a couple of times. And so you would think that his horses would have a shot. But I want to go back and just have a look at one other thing that popped up recently on my social media feed. A nice win for Woodbine regular jockey Emma Jane Wilson last week. She rode Jungle Cove to victory at Ascot in the Dubai Duty Free Sugar Cup. The Great Britain and Irish team won the overall title, but Emma Jane and the ladies team were a close second. Ever ride in this event, Sandy? Ever get a chance to ride?
Never had an opportunity to ride in that one, Joe. I rode in number of competitions around the world, but never had an opportunity to ride in that one. Emma Jane, I always remember from the very beginning. I remember Emma Jane, horses ran for her. She's a tremendous jockey. She's great for horse racing. I know a number of times when I was doing TV for Woodbine, I would interview her, and she was amazing. She was fantastic with the interviews, and I'll tell you what, she's a very, very good rider as well.
Awesome in many ways. Dawn, what are your thoughts of when you saw that victory by Emma Jane?
Yeah, no surprise whatsoever. She loves going over there and doing that. She is probably the most competitive person you'd ever want to meet at just about everything. And I remember, like, she would fly over there. She'd go ride in England in the past and then fly back and be riding here like the very next day. She'd take the red eye and be riding at Woodbine. So she doesn't miss a beat by any way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's not a surprise to see Emma do that well. And she had, you didn't see the big picture of her with a huge Canadian flag just after she won that race, holding behind her. She is proudly Canadian in every way.
Well, I know, Dawn, you have the harness racing roots, and the Canadian Pacing Derby and Maple Leaf Trot are coming up later in this month. Any thoughts about who we might be looking out for?
Yeah, we won't know. So eliminations are more towards the end of the month. I think August the 27th, and then the races themselves are at the beginning of September. But there is a horse in the Canadian Pacing Classic, and it's Bulldog Hanover is the one that everybody's going to be talking about. Bulldog Hanover is now the fastest standardbred in the history of the sport. He paced a mile in 145 and change down south. So he's been racing in the States, 145 and 4 at the Meadowlands. So yeah, he's got a lot of credentials to him. He's also trained by Jack Darling, who's from Cambridge, and he's owned by Brad Grant of Milton, Ontario. So it's Canadian connections. He's the son of Shadow Play, who was trained and owned by Ian Moore, who's Canadian connections. So there's a lot of Canadiana with Bulldog Hanover, and that's definitely the one that we're going to keep a close eye on, hoping that he comes. Again, it's still a little ways away, but that's definitely on their target. Being hometown kind of guys, that's where they want to race this horse.
Awesome. 145 and 4. That is so fast. That's
it's
unbelievable.
insane.
I remember 2 minutes was considered fast. Oh, that's a while ago, mind you. Okay, so now you also tweeted this past weekend, I'm a beautiful Grand River Raceway for Harness, the Hope, and the Ontario Women's Driving Championship. I'm very honored to be the guest announcer. Tell us, how did the event go, Dawn?
It was a lot of fun, Joe. They put on such a great show, and there was pink popcorn. There was also pink cotton candy, of course, but it's always pink, right? It was a great crowd. They were honoring cancer survivors, people who have lost loved ones due to cancer, people who are struggling with cancer at this time. Harness the Hope, a wonderful organization. So a lot of money was raised for them. There were a lot of families there. It was really, really a nice night. It had been a while since I'd been out to Elora. It's a beautiful area. Definitely. I love the track there, the racetrack there. It's a very close-knit community, and they support their racing. They race a couple nights a week, but there's always good crowds there. And I had the honor of racing there when I was still campaigning standardbred horses. And I had one horse, Cam's Best Bet, who loved Grand River, a little half-mile track. He was like a hoop around a barrel on that track, and competed at the highest level there. So I have fond memories, and it was really nice to catch up with Jamie Martin, who is the operations manager there, the raceway manager, and everybody else. So got to see some familiar faces and enjoy some good racing.
Well, Sandy, as a cancer survivor, I'm sure you're happy to hear about that event.
You know what? For sure. And as Dawn mentioned, she saw a lot of good friends there, a lot of people that were with Woodbine in the past, and I would have loved to have been there as well. Being a cancer survivor, I was a very lucky guy. I'm one of the lucky ones to be here. I'll tell you what, Dawn can do it all. Well, she's a great announcer. She knows her horses, and she can even call races. That's absolutely amazing.
Yes, indeed. Jill of all trades. Listen, thank you so much, guys, for being here today. Dawn, if you want to follow Dawn, you can follow Dawn at Dawn Lupul on Twitter, at Dawn Lupul on Instagram. Sandy, of course, is Sandy Hawley 6 on Twitter. Thanks for being here today. Enjoy the plate, and we'll be right back with a story about We Care. Thanks, guys.
More Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show coming up after the break. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to hpibet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today, and your first bet is free. That's hpibet.com.
Do you know why that happened? You didn't fix your ball mark. The birds around here are very protective of the course, and when people don't take care of it, this is what happens. It's pretty simple. Just find your mark, fix it, and at least one other. Hey, look at the bright side. We're not up on the northern course. They've got bears and moose.
Visit moregolf.ca today. You'll find everything a golfer could need, from balls, gloves, and clubs to custom fitting opportunities and training gear. Go to moregolf.ca and get $20 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Just enter the promo code JT Sports.
The charity is called We Care, helping kids realize their potential. And the event is a charity golf challenge. Introducing to you now, from Kettleby, Ontario, he's a former Timmy ambassador for Easter Seals, ambassador for Al Balding's Golf Week for Timmy, longtime advocate for folks with disabilities, chairman of the We Care Charity Golf Tournament, winner of the Gary Wright Humanitarian Award for 2020. Welcome to the program, Brent Morning. Brent, good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Joe, very much. Nice to meet you.
All right. And also joining us from Oshawa, he is a presentation manager for the Special Olympics, a producer for the Olympics and Paralympics, a former professor at Seneca College, former director of communications for the Toronto Argos, former producer, reporter, and anchor on City TV, manager of the fundraising and events for We Care, Greg Mandziuk. Greg, good to see you again, my friend.
Hello, sir. So, sir, it's been a while. I think we golfed last summer. So.
Yeah, last summer, right? But it's been a long time since we had a chance to, all those years ago, right? Well, Brent, we want to start with you. You were a Timmy ambassador for Easter Seals. Tell us about what was that like for you?
Well, it was interesting. It started. I simply got a phone call from Susan Brower. Susan Brower at the time. It was 1981. I was playing hockey in the driveway. My mom yelled at me, "Do you want to go to dinner on Thursday night?" And I said, "Well, okay." They're having an Al Baldwin Golf Week press conference, and they needed a Timmy representative. And all right, fine. And I was kind of green. I didn't know. Okay, a nice dinner out. Mom and Dad and I went over, and I didn't know who Al Baldwin was, but I certainly found out within a few minutes of getting there. He asked the golf pro at Carrying Place Golf Course at the time to give me some golf lessons, and I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing the golf. He says, well, talk to Mr. Dove and we'll get that set up for you. And a couple of months went on and didn't hear from Mr. Dove. And a couple of months later, Mr. Dove calls me and says, time for your golf lessons. And I said, I didn't think you were going to give me a call. And he says, Brent, when Al Baldwin says I'm supposed to give you a call, I give you a call. So I learned pretty quickly that Al, I was new at it, but I learned Al Baldwin was the Gretzky of golf in Canada, I guess. That's the way I thought of it. And I had the opportunity to do it next year at the Royal Highlands Golf Club, and sure enough, Al asked me how the golf lessons were going, and sure enough, I was doing well. I think I could hit the ball about 50 feet, but I as the years went on, I got really, really good, and I golfed a couple times a week until about 15 years ago at Cardinal Kettle Creek course. And in 1997, I believe I got a hole-in-one on number 9. So that was really weird because the guy I was golfing with said, "Geez, you're golfing so well. The next shot's going to go in the hole," and it did. So
what are the odds of that? Well, they're pretty astronomical. I have had one hole in one too. It was a lot of fun. But Brent, you also talk about skating at Maple Leaf Gardens and getting assistance from a pretty important, well-known hockey figure.
Yeah, that was another one of my dreams. When I was a young boy, I always wanted. Everybody wants to play at Maple Leaf Gardens or play for the Leafs, but I couldn't do that. So next thing I could do is skate, and so I went to a therapy appointment at the I think it was the I don't at the time it was called the Untitled Children's Center, which is inappropriate today, but at the time that's what it was called. So I saw a poster and I called down and got some pledge sheets from Easter Seals, and they sent them back to school. And I think the first year I raised $150. And I thought, geez, when I get up in the morning, I thought this is better than the Leaf game. This is actually going on the ice. It's like, wow, this is good. This is good. So I went on the ice, and within a couple of minutes, there was a lot of people around me trying to help me, and like, well, this is incredible. And I was like, and I didn't realize, but you're technically only supposed to be on the ice for 45 minutes to an hour, but they let me stay. I didn't know there was rules, but I finished the 50th lap, and about halfway through, Bobby Orr came up to me and said, "Are you going to do 50 laps today?" I said, "Well, I'm going to try." He says, "Well, I'm going to help you at the end. Make sure you tell me." I said, "Okay, fine." Never gave me any thought. So with that, they approached my mom and said, "Can we do this?" And mom was like a kid in a candy store. She's like, "Okay, you can do whatever you want." I didn't know anything about what's going on, and all of a sudden, Bobby approached me at the end. "Okay, this is 50th lap. Everybody's going to line up behind you," and it was very, very emotional. And the picture of mom and I is the picture of the first 50th lap.
Wow. Brent, I know that Easter Seals has been a significant part of your life, and then as time went on, you became involved in fundraising, and tell us about that aspect of it.
Well, when you as a young boy growing up as Timmy, you kind of watch the event being planned while you're just eating dinner. You see what's going on behind the scenes. Like, gee, this is challenging. I thought, well, if I ever get in a position to help, or then I'm going to try and give back, because they have done a lot for me. And well, if I'm in a position to help, then that's what I'm going to do. And I pretty much volunteered the majority of my life, and I'm very proud of that. And I don't do it for the glory or the award. I just do it because I enjoy doing it. And I have in my high school days, I had probably 50 students and good friends of mine that basically give me $3 on a pledge sheet, and now they're still most of them sponsor me annually, give me a donation, or buy golf rounds, and this has been going on for 35 years. So I'm very proud of that.
Greg, we used to still see a lot of each other back in the day at news conferences and various media events and everything else. Tell us about how you got involved in the fundraising side of the business. Period.
It was actually that times, early 80s. I think the first Easter Seals event that I was kind of asked to help with was the Timmy Tag Hockey Tournament, which was at the Gardens. And I was just one of the 2 or 3 hour MCs or whatever it was. And then I got involved with the Conn Smythe Dinner, which is still around, and I'm still a member of that committee. 60-something years ago, or 30-something years ago, I should say. And then after my time at City, there was an opening to be a producer for the Easter Seals telethon, and they all kind of just thought I was just a sports guy, but I had done some production stuff as well. So having known Easter Seals, they hired me as the producer, and this November will be my 23rd year producing the Easter Seals telethon. So Kevin Collins, who's now the president and executive director and CEO of Easter Seals Ontario, close friend of mine for 30-something years. He got me involved in the first place. And a few years ago, I always volunteered here at the We Care events. So We Care is kind of a brother to Easter Seals. We support Easter Seals camps across the country. So an opening came here back in 2015, and I joined full time, and now I do events here.
Tell us more about We Care. Tell us more about We Care.
So We Care it's a national charity. We used to be called Friends of We Care. We recently rebranded a couple of years ago, and we're now just known as We Care. We are, like I said, kind of a brother to Easter Seals. Our sole purpose is to raise funds to send kids with disabilities to Easter Seals summer camps across the country. So there are 16 countries, or 16 camps across the province, across the country rather, so that we support through fundraising events. So Brent's golf tournament is one of them. We also run golf tournaments ourselves. We have bowling events, all kinds of different events. That's our main way of raising funds. And then we distribute the funds we make to the different camps in the provinces. So if I go to Newfoundland and run a bowling event there, the money that's raised in Newfoundland stays in Newfoundland. And it costs $250 a day to send a kid to Easter Seals summer camp. And so the more money we raise, the more days at camp. And that's the simple way of putting what we do.
Well, and that camp is so huge for the kids. Brent, I want to bring you back in there. Tell us about the charity golf challenge.
Well, in 2013, my mom wasn't well. She had pancreatic cancer, and I decided I was eventually gonna lose her, but I needed something to stay positive and focused on. So I thought, let's slowly start a small little golf tournament at Cardinals Kettle Creek, and whatever we raised is what we raised. I just wanted to get people out golf. And I think the first year we had about 36 players, and we raised, I think, $3,500. Second year we had 72 players, and we raised $7,200. Third year, 72 players, and we raised $10,000. And fast forward to 2019, the year before the pandemic, we had 80 players, and we raised $19,200. So I've been wanting to move it over to the West Coast for a number of years. I just wanted to make sure I had the people in the database and enough support for it. So then, unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and the first year we just did strictly online donations. We raised $7,000, and last year, a friend and I came up with an idea. We can use the Cardinal Golf Voucher System to add a little bit of money to the price of the greens fee, and the profit can go to We Care. So last year, I think we raised $15,000. We sold 97 rounds of golf plus probably 13,000 in donations, give or take. This year we're 92 rounds of golf sold, I believe, and we're approaching $25,000 raised.
Wow, that's fantastic. And tell us about how somebody gets involved with the Charity Golf Challenge. I understand there's a tax receipt involved, so tell us about it.
Yeah, this year you go to Charity Golf Challenge, you buy your e-vouchers. It's pretty much self-explanatory, and I believe approximately $25 will, at the end of the season, when Cardinal sends the check back to WeCare, the golfers will get a tax receipt for $25, $30, the profit from the golf round. So it basically, I wasn't that crazy about being around a lot of people during a pandemic, but I wanted to do something to keep my mind occupied, and I have quite a few people in database. So I thought, well, we can try this, and it's going really well, and I hope we can have a real tournament next year. But if we don't, this is working fine. And as I say, I'm very fortunate to have people have supported We Care and Easter Seals for a number of years, and I'm very, very proud of that, because it's very, very hard to. You kind of have to stay focused on what you're doing. You can't really worry about what people call me an inspiration, and I don't really worry about that because I'm too busy doing my job, whatever it might be.
You do a fantastic job. Great. Go ahead.
I just want to jump on that, Joe. It's come to the point now where when Brent's setting up this event, whether it's in-person live day of or whether it's the virtual way we've done it, it's Brent makes the call and it's Brent calling, and we're either buying a foursome or we're making a donation. So from our side, who actually run the day of kind of stuff when we have the event, it's just plug and play. He's done he's got such a great connection in his community. I have to say, when we do the event live, our old pal Brian Stemmel actually MCs the day. Brian is a lifelong friend of Brent, so Stemmer comes up and does that as well, and it's just a great day. So Brent has kept my fingers very busy this year, just trying to keep up. There he is, just trying to keep up with everything we do. So it's a really, really nice day, and people with big hearts reaching out. And I just going to give you another little thing about the camps. These camps, for a lot of these kids, it's the only time during the year when they can actually be with kids like them. And these camps are to the point where everybody can do everything. If it's rock climbing, there's a ropes course, there's whitewater rafting at some of the camps. It's really a chance for kids to mature. They come home different people. That's the first thing the parents say when we pick up. This is a different person. There's a story of one young guy who his mom combed his hair every day, and he came home and she's starting to comb his hair, and no, I can do that myself now. And for us, it may seem so simple, but for her, it was life changing. For the kids, it's life changing. They make lifelong friends. It's an unbelievable experience for the kids at camp.
I just love the idea that you can purchase a round of golf and help these kids go to camp, and it's a good deal, right? It's a good deal. It's a reasonably priced round of golf, and it's
only $100, and about $25 to $30 of that goes back to charity.
And Cardinal's a wonderful track, believe me.
Yeah, it
left
is.
A few balls there.
Right.
It's a great track.
Yeah, when they open the new course, I got a chance to play it. It's well designed and beautiful.
Just put it out there, Joe. You're welcome if we have an event next year or golf round. You're welcome to join us.
Well, I'll certainly be there. You know that. By the way, Brent, a mutual friend of ours, wanted me to ask you about beating a certain pro one time in a putting contest.
Oh, Gary, yes.
Gary Betts.
He wanted me to say this?
Yeah.
I was 12, and sometimes when the head pro couldn't make it to the golf lesson, he would send Gary, and we had your basic putting contest. He says, so I said, Gary, let's have a bit of a contest. All right. So So it turned out that I don't know what the rules were, but I beat him fair and square, and he freely admits to that. But the thing was, he told me he should never let that happen again because otherwise the golf pro won't play against me. And years later, we had the same thing happen with another golf pro, and the golf pro wouldn't play against me, just like Gary has said. So,
You're a ringer. You're a
but
ringer.
I don't know. I've had a hole in one and 175-yard eagle on a long par for Kettle Creek. So unfortunately,
Quit showing off.
I can't show off anymore because I'm basically pushing my walking around and I have to run these things now. But I enjoy it. It's a challenge. It keeps me involved in my community, and I have been heavily involved in my community at various different things since I was 8 or 10 years old. So, and my family has deep roots in this community, and I like to think I'll be here till they take me down the road to the cemetery, I guess. So, but
well,
I'm very proud of my accomplishments, and I'm very proud of the team behind me. The team behind me that puts this thing together doesn't get the credit they deserve. They think, oh, Brent does all the work, but I do a lot of the work, but I just basically do what I'm told.
Well,
it works out well.
I tell you what, Brent, you're leading the team, and the world would be a better place if there were more of us like you around, Brent. You do a fantastic job, and thank you so much for this. And we all want kids to enjoy a fun, full life and a chance to reach their potential, and you guys are doing a lot to help that, and we want to thank you for that. Once again, wecarecanada.org, or you can email Greg
dash Canada.
We care dash Canada. Correct. WeCare-Canada.org. And you can email Greg at gmandziuk at WeCare-Canada.org, and CharityGolfChallenge.ca, or you can email Brent at CharityGolfChallenge.ca. And so get your foursomes in there quick, because it's running till what is it? The end of September, Brent?
The end of September. There's about 60 rounds left. So.
Okay, there's still about 60 rounds, so we get a chance to do that. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Greg to catch up, and Brent to chat.
See you, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, Joe.
Alrighty.
And now, my Coastal Swiss pick of the week. Last week, I went to Mohawk for Tuesday night's fourth leg of the Ontario Sire Stakes Grassroots Series for 2-year-old trotting colts and geldings. I took the number 3 horse, Take On Me, who got away fine, but so did the favorite, Nothing But a Dreamer, James McDonald, the driver trained by Harry Polton. Nothing But a Dreamer would not relinquish that lead. Take On Me took second. I had the place bet and the exacta, but lost money overall. This week, I'm looking at Thursday night's opening race, third leg of the Grassroots Pacing Series for 2-year-old colts and geldings. The 4-horse Joker on Jack with Jody Jamieson in the buggy scored a stunning upset last week at 34-1. I think he's a real deal, folks. I also like the 2, 3, 4 exacta and trifecta. For all the racing updates, visit Costa TV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options.
This is the Excellent Sports Adventure, brought to you by Lycom.
Well, I ran into 2 of the newest Jays at the golf course the other day, Whit Merrifield and Jackie Bradley Jr. They both reiterated that there are always ebbs and flows in a major league season over 162 games. We'll see. Cleveland Guardians in town first up. Some fine Canadian content. Josh Naylor nails this Jose Barrios offering. That's going to leave the yard. It's a 2-run rip for the 25-year-old from Mississauga. More than enough offense for Port Hope's Cal Quantrill. Yes, son of Paul, who has been on the show. Cal struck out 7 over 7 innings to improve to 9-5 on the season. A much tighter game the following day. Teoscar Hernandez sees what he can handle from Tristan McKenzie. A majestic drive that will find the seats. Number 17 for Teo. Matt Chapman also went deep. Mitch White and 5 relievers got it done on the mound. Jordan Romano with 2 terrific innings of relief for his 26th save. Another 1-run win for the Bluebirds as they top the Guardians 2-1.
Can't say enough about the job they did from Pop to Simber to Bass to Jimmy to Jordy. I mean, they all stepped up. I mean, the last 2 games, I think 9 scoreless. They've been really, really good for a while now. So it lined up well after Mitch. And, just a credit to those guys. They were all pretty much nails. Yeah, I thought our approach was better overall. Obviously, the 2 big homers were key from Chappie and Teo. But, I think what I liked was the way they kind of grinded. Their at-bats out and we're in it. It's a good team and it's a good pitcher in McKenzie. So, I was pleased with the way that they really grinded through their at-bats for the most part, but, hopefully we can kind of string it together a little bit more consistently.
But here's the problem. The Jays pitching has not been great. Yusei Kikuchi can't stay in this rotation. It's a guaranteed loss when he takes the mound. Shoddy defense hasn't helped. The Bluebirds have dropped 5 of 6. They better get this ship straightened out or they're not going to see the postseason. A big rematch between the Ticats and the Argos. This time, the 2 longtime rivals hooked up at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. And this time, the Cats would rally. Matthew Schultz, in the quarterback for the injured Dane Evans, airs it up for Tim White, who makes a lovely adjustment. And he takes this in for a 60-yard touchdown late 4th quarter. Sean Thomas Erlington takes a handoff, hits the hole. This guy has some wheels. Ticats take down the Argos 37-27. Can't wait for Labor Day. Nathan Rourke and the sizzling Lions in Calgary. After a sluggish first half, Rourke finds his groove. Late, drops back and fires a dart downfield for Brian Burnham. Burnham takes it 53 yards to the house. Rourke passed for 488 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Lions rally from 9 down. Came down to this. Sean White with a 25-yard field goal with no time left. BC wins 41-40. They're 7-1. Well, what a difference. Night and day. Toronto FC has yet to lose an MLS game since Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi joined the club. Both Italian stars found the score sheet along with Jonathan Osorio as the Reds bounced the Portland Timbers 3-1 at BMO Field. The Timbers were unbeaten in 10 straight heading in. The Reds are now 4 points out of a playoff spot. If they do squeeze into the postseason, they will be a heap of trouble for whoever they run into. They're home to New England and Inter Miami this week. It was CEBL Championship weekend in Ottawa. Great job by the Scarborough Shooting Stars, who made it to the final, but they ran into that powerhouse from Hamilton, the league-leading Honey Badgers. Christian Vital led the way with 17 points. Kobe McEwen added 16. Jeremiah Tillman was a force inside. Badgers hold off the Stars 90-88 to capture the Canadian Championship. Cassius Robertson had 23 for Scarborough. Oh, these guys are good, folks. Jesse Wilcox kept his unbeaten record intact. The Hamilton super welterweight ended a 2.5-year hiatus against Mexican veteran Ricardo Lara in Cornwall. Wilcox found a home for that right hand, had some nasty on it. He dropped them and stopped them, improving his record to 16-0 with 10 KOs. Montreal's Jessica Camara scored a big TKO win in Houston. She put an end to the bout with the vicious body attack. Corcoran's Boxing Club is getting ready to host a huge amateur boxing show this Saturday night at Robert E. Young Recreation Complex just outside Peterborough. Jay Corcoran, a former champion, has been getting his team in tremendous shape for the war in Ennismore. Top boxers from across the province go to corcoranboxing@gmail.com for ticket information. I'll be there. I'll be hosting the event. Congratulations to Simona Halep, Pablo Carreño Busta, and a top 3 finish for Stephen Ames at the Boeing Classic Champions Tour event. Now, it's time for our golf shot of the week.
God damn it.
4! Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Joe Tilley on the tee. It's around 179-yard par 3. He's looking at a driver. Maybe a 3-wood. Maybe a punch to a 3-wood. I think he's got reset in the stance. He likes it. Holy smokes, there we go. Look at the look. He likes it. Let's zoom in.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. Today's environmental tip:
Reduce the electricity you use. Use energy-efficient light bulbs instead of regular light bulbs. They last longer, which will save you money. Make sure that you turn off the lights, the TV, and other appliances when you're not using them. And lower your air conditioning or heat settings when it's not necessary. Open your windows when fall arrives and wear more layers of clothing rather than cranking up the heat.
Rycom, passionate people who turn complicated business problems into simplified technology solutions for public and private sector real estate, properties, portfolios, and enterprise customers. Optimize and future-proof smart buildings from the ground up. The latest in fault locating, base building network design, managed services, cybersecurity, data analytics. Our fault detection will support all smart strategies, define projected outcomes for capital planning, and reduce environmental impact. Rycom, smart protection solutions. At Rycom, we're building a path to a smart and environmentally friendly future. And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, personal business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. A reminder, the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcast, and Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network, Zingo TV, and Buzz TV Live. Also, if you want to check out our YouTube channel, there are past shows available, weekly sportscasts, all kinds of cool segments. Like and subscribe. It's free. Thanks once again to Sandy Hawley, Dawn Lupul, Brent Morning, and Greg Mandziuk for being on the show. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week when the Big M, Frank Mahovlich, drops by. We'll see you then. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by
Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in the early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Do you want to buy or sell a home? Could 31 years of real estate experience help you? Why not speak to an amazing team that loves to overpromise and overdeliver? Aldo has a tremendous team of experts on staff. They are committed to making your next real estate transaction smooth and comfortable. Call 416-GET-ALDO or visit getaldo.com.
MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more.
Hi, I'm Joe Tilley. This November, join me and my wife Penny Claire for a trip of a lifetime. 2 weeks in Egypt and Jordan. Imagine yourself riding a camel beside the Great Pyramids, cruising the Nile River, viewing the temples at Abu Simbel, exploring the desert at Wadi Rum, visiting the ancient city of Petra, and swimming in the world-renowned Dead Sea. Only $41.99 all-inclusive with direct flight from Toronto, free upgrade to 5-star hotels, and the cruise. Visit tripoppo.com and book today to get an extra $100 room bonus credit. Let's travel.
The UPS store in Brooklyn wants to help your small business thrive. We offer shipping and more, like our pack and ship guarantee. Plus, we offer graphic design services, fast digital printing, secure document shredding, and mailboxes with a real address. Visit 31 Baldwin Street in Brooklyn, Ontario. Say you saw this on Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show, and we'll tell you how to save 10% every day.